Welcome, everybody. My name is Daryl Kwa. I want to take you first to Parliament, where the House is currently considering approval of tax cuts as contained in the 2017 budget. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo is on the line. Joseph, what's the latest from Parliament?
And so the discussions are still ongoing. The chairman of the Finance Committee has been putting before the General House the various recommendations by the Finance Committee on all the suggested tax cuts. Let me run you through. There are 4 different such presentations that he's made to the House. He's been indicating that when it comes to the special petroleum tax, that there is an amendment bill that they are introducing for the year 2017. And the purpose of this bill, he says, is to amend the Special Tax Act 2014 to reduce the rate of the special petroleum tax on petroleum products from 17.5% to 15%. That's the first one that he put before the House. The other one that he put before the House was an amendment to the Customs and Excise bill, which has to do with petroleum taxes and also petroleum-related levies. He told the House that the Finance Minister, Mr. Kenneth Ofori-Atta, told the Finance Committee that the reason that they want to remove this particular tax is to reduce what they call the tax overlay in the petroleum industry, and that he is confident that government is trying to build faith with the people and so would not impose tax when not necessary. That is why they are removing this tax. He explained that the removal of this tax will cost government 84 million, which is something that they are projecting in the budget. The third bill that he laid before the House has to do with the Income Tax Bill 2017, which is the amendment, and he explained that the purpose of this bill is to exempt the gain on the realization of securities of companies which are listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange from income tax for the period of 2017 until 2021. And he says that the purpose for this is that the committee was informed that government had observed that there wasn't much activity at the Ghana Stock Exchange due to liquidity situation and exchanges. That's why they are removing this particular tax. The final one is the special import levy, which indicates that they are seeking an amendment to. He says that the committee, found that the purpose of this bill is to amend the special import levy to remove the levy which is paid on some specific imported goods. And the idea behind this is that they are removing this 1% special levy to reduce costs when it comes to these particular items, and it will cost government an amount of 71 billion cedis. And so the deliberations are ongoing, and anytime soon, approval will be given by the House.
And Gakpo, earlier, the minority members called for some clarity on how government intends to implement the tax cuts. That's MP James Klutsa-Avedzi. It seems they are not convinced that this would work. Is that the case?
Well, he made the point, exactly the point. He made the point that when it comes to the removal of import duties, for example, on spare parts, beyond government introducing the legislation to allow for this removal of taxes, they didn't see a clear-cut plan on the part of government to ensure that when these taxes are removed on the items, the ordinary consumer who eventually purchases them would benefit from those removal of taxes and also the cuts on the import duties. And he was demanding a clear plan from government on how the ordinary Ghanaian will benefit from these tax cuts. Well, the majority side eventually didn't really give any major response to that, except to hint that as far as they are concerned, once the business people get the opportunity to do their businesses at a much lower cost, eventually it will trickle down to the ordinary consumer.
All right, thanks very much indeed. That was parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo. And as we've been telling you, Parliament has approved estimates outlined in this year's budget, despite a walkout by some minority members. The Finance Minister, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, was in the House today as MPs concluded the debate on the budget. He promised government would fulfill all promises in the 2017 budget.
Regards to revenue targets, which is key to the success of this budget, government is optimistic that the revenue projections in the budget are achievable, notwithstanding the underperformance last year, mainly as a result of reduction of income and property tax revenues and non-realization of proceeds from non-tax categories. With a broad spectrum of policies, however, that we intend to implement, including plugging the leakages and loopholes in revenue administration, as well as ensuring compliance, Mr. Speaker, we should be able to achieve the targets in 2017. Government, Mr. Speaker, is also committed to uphold the constitutional provision regarding the statutory funds and will ensure that adequate allocations are made to these funds. Mr. Speaker, as we have indicated in this budget, this government will take deliberate and strategic steps to fundamentally change the structure of the economy bequeathed to us 60 years ago, and we are committed to implementing these budgets. So we look, Mr. Speaker, to restore and sustain macro stability. We look to provide the environment for private sector to grow and to thrive. We look to improve public services, and Mr. Speaker, to tackle corruption. And we look to support small business in rural and deprived areas. We have a clear stimulus for agriculture and industry, and to create, Mr. Speaker, the most business-friendly environment for both domestic and external investors. As many
And that was earlier today in Parliament. Joining me in the studio now for some more discussion over the approval of the budget, my colleague George Uyafi. So what does this really mean for government, the approval of the budget?
Well, you're looking at the bigger document here right now in terms of the budget. And you know that the last approval that was secured in November meant that government can only draw from the consolidated fund up to March 31. So if they don't get any approval before that time, it means they might struggle actually to withdraw from the consolidated fund.
Okay. And now currently before the House of Parliament, there is a discussion over the proposed tax cuts. How do you think things are going to play out?
Well, the majority, they have the numbers. So
Always have the way.
They will have their way in terms of these taxes, and they're going to approve it. What we're still trying to gather or understand that what will be the lag time in terms of the presidential approval and for it to take effect. So if all other things being equal, if they get the approval today, it means that possibly the president could approve it on Friday, and then on Monday, voila, it will take effect, Darrell.
All right, and another development today, George, the president announcing 3 deputy ministers for the finance ministry. First, fill us in on who these ministers are, deputy ministers are, and what they're bringing on board.
So, Kweku Kwarteng, I think, is a member of parliament for Boase West or something. And we know him as an economist. We know him as somebody who worked as a special spokesperson in the previous administration during President Kufuor's time. He worked on these things. And what we understand is that he's going to help more in speaking to the issues relating to economic, finance, and also being a member of parliament, he's going to help in passing some of these tax laws and amendments to the various laws and all those things. Charles Dubois, he's an investment banker. He's worked with several investment firms in Ghana and even abroad as well. And again, he's bringing his finance and investment experience on board. What we understand from the presidency is that he wants people there who have a deep understanding of the financial world and how they can negotiate well with these Franklin Templeton and all the rest, to how we can get a better price when we go out to borrow and even lengthen the period as well. So he's also bringing that experience on board. And then the lady that's a member of parliament as well, she's also coming on board. We understand she's an economist. She also worked at the Standard Chartered Bank. And you have 3 deputy ministers assisting the minister to do this.
And of course, currently the debate over whether or not we need 3 deputy ministers for the Ministry of Finance. I mean, your thoughts about that?
Well, for those who worked there before, the argument is that the work is very big and therefore you need a lot of people to assist you. But there were some people who were looking out for, a very hard economist, unquote, to help with the economic planning and all those things. But the argument is also from government side is that Osafuma for Akoto say, and then the vice president himself, Bami, is going to support the ministry in terms of economic planning. So maybe strong finance people at the ministry there to help with the day-to-day work and all those things. And from those who've been there, some people are arguing that for Ministry of Finance with 3 deputies, maybe they can get away, but the other ministries, that is where the problem is. All
right, we'll talk about that later. George Uyafi, thanks for coming to the studio to have a discussion. Moving on now to some other developments within the day. Inflation for the month of February 2017 has recorded a marginal decline of 13.2%. That's the lowest since December 2013. Now, this came to light at the Ghana Statistical Services briefing to the media, addressing the media in Accra, government statistician Bawadia said this constitutes a 0.1 percentage point drop from the 13.3% recorded in January 2017. Now, the key drivers for the rate include transport, recreation, and culture, as well as furnishings and routine maintenance.
For February 2017, the index level was 191.6, which translates into a yearly change of 13.2% and a monthly change of 0.6%. The main price drivers for the non-food inflation rate were transport, 23.3%, recreation and culture, 22.8%, furnishings, household equipment, and routine maintenance, 22.5%, education, 19.6%, clothing and footwear, 17.8%, and health, 17.1%. Now, the price drivers for the food inflation rate were fish and seafood, 14.3%, meat and meat products, 11.2%, mineral water, soft drinks, fruit and vegetable juices, 7.9%, coffee, tea and cocoa, 7.6%, and sugar, jam, honey, chocolate, and confectionery, 7.4%. 5 regions, that is Greater Accra, Upper West, Western, Gwon Ahafo, and Ashanti, recorded inflation rates that were higher than the national average of 13.2%. And Greater Accra recorded the highest year-on-year inflation rate of 14.1%, followed by Upper West region with 13.9%, while Volta region recorded the lowest inflation rate of 11.4%. The February 2017 rate of 13.2% is the lowest inflation rate recorded since December 2013.
In other news, Deputy Minister Designate for Trade and Industry, Ahomka Lindsay, has hinted the issue of consumer sovereignty will be key in government's development agenda. This comes as the world marks International Consumer Rights Day, a day set aside to promote the basic rights of consumers. Now, in an interview, the Deputy Minister Designate said a number of statutes were currently under review to protect consumer interest.
This year's Consumer Rights Day was under the theme, Building a Digital and Financial World Consumers Can Trust. To mark the day, Consumer Unity and Trust Society (CUTS) brought together various stakeholders at a roundtable policy discussion to forge ways to solve consumer injustices. Speaking to Joy Business, the Minister Designate for Trade and Industry, Mr. Ahomka Lindsay, said a number of legislations that protect consumer interest were already under review.
The role consumers play in an environment where we're looking at creation of jobs and industry. Clearly, we want to create a more consumer-friendly industrial base. Therefore, in doing that, we also must realize that though there are expectations and obligations of the industrial side, we also must make sure that the consumers who are going to be the benefit of that rights are also protected. So there were 2 particular legislation that was referred to, which is a consumer rights bill, the competition bills, consumer rights bill, data protection bill, and the competition bill. And so these are all currently within the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and it's our intention to look at them very carefully and expedite them as appropriately as possible. But I think what was more important to me is not so much looking at the bill, which is important to make sure we have the framework, but ensuring that the design and structures of our businesses are done in such a way to support consumers. Because at the end of the day, you're producing for what? You're producing to sell it to the consumer. And if we have a consumer society and we really do believe in the consumer as king, then our behaviors and activities will be very different.
On his part, the coordinator for the Consumer Unity and Trust Society (CUTS), Apiakusi Adomako, charged consumers to be more vigilant with what they buy.
Though we don't have the consumer protection law, there are various regulatory regimes in which consumers' rights are guaranteed. And I think that in absence of the protection law, consumers can look at those sectorial regulators for their rights to be protected. And number 2, it's also incumbent on every consumer to be very alert And for example, if you go to the shopping mall to buy any product, make sure that you look at the label, look at the expiry date. Don't just look at the expiry date after you start feeling some upset in your body.
Sheila Tamaklo reporting for Joy Business.
And you're still watching Business Live. We'll take a short break. We'll have the Joy Business van up next. Welcome back. Now, the fashion industry in Ghana is highly lucrative and also highly competitive. And to survive as a player, you've got to be very creative. And one startup is doing just that. Patrick Ejen Ketia, he is redefining men's fashion, making accessories out of the African fabric. His story next on the Joy Business Van. Patrick Ejen Ketia had always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but fashion was not the first option. Patrick started a couple of ventures right after school, including a tourism consultancy firm and an NGO to promote good sanitary practices. But he made no progress and was becoming increasingly frustrating.
I felt like, so now even money to board transportation to go about was hard. And you try to find ways, but you don't get them. There was this time where I don't have money, I don't know what to do. But still I kept relationship around positive-minded people who are. So it was just a split of a second, and we were in a bus, Churchill going, and I felt like, wow, why don't we have African print ties?
That was like a eureka moment. Patrick had just discovered an idea that would change his occupation.
I came home, I dismantled my ties to see the nature of it, and from there I picked a couple of materials, a material that I had, and went to a seamstress. I did a little self-taught on YouTube. So I showed her the videos that I've copied. But they were in between where, when they are recording, they cut it off, so you wouldn't see even how the pattern was cut. So she suggested that, no, the tie is not cut that way, it's cut this way, you know. So I feel that this is going to be a product, and it's going to, if I'm able to sell, I'm going to make money.
Once Patrick got a hang of how to make ties with the African fabric, he started posting his products on social media.
So we got positive and negative comments, but people were interested. The good comments were more. And others geared me on and motivated me that, oh, it could happen. Someone said it could be for only the fancy people.
Patrick uses the brand name Itama, derived from the Swahili language meaning culture. He's also passionate about expressing the Ghanaian culture, and he believes his products are catching on. He shows me some of the celebrities who have patronized his accessories.
This is Ella Ankra. Ella Ankra is a TV personality, and here is Ochame Kwame. Ochame Kwame per se, my first meeting him I was so happy. I was so happy. And here again, he did a very nice picture with the tie. And they made them send that picture to me, and that picture has really helped me in promoting the business. Yes, as a celebrity endorsement. Yes, and we have KKD. I make KKD at Moving Pick, and I gave him a couple of my ties, and he wore them and sent them also outside and gave some to his son, and it was amazing. And he sent you pictures on Instagram, and it was like, Patrick, I wore your tie, and people were like giving compliments that it was nice. And, you know, that feeling is great.
But Patrick has not had it easy. One of his struggles has been the absence of a mentor. He had to learn the hard way most of the time, His struggles have paid off though. Today he is invited to many fashion shows. In 2015, Utama was nominated for Best Fashion Accessories Male category at the Ghana Fashion Awards.
This business has taught me a lot that I cannot even say here. But some of the key things that it has taught me is believing the process. When I say believing the process, I mean trusting the journey that you are on, where you don't know where it's taking you, but you believe that it will take you somewhere. You know, it gives you some kind of hope. It gives you some, faith. But aside all odds, we will still sail through. No matter what, we will still rise up to the occasion.
When he's not working, Patrick loves to spend his time mentoring young people who want to become entrepreneurs. All right, welcome back. You can watch a repeat of the Joy Business Van at 1 p.m. That's on the Marketplace tomorrow on this same channel. Time now for some computer lessons on Busy Bits.
Today's tip will help you set the line spacing in Microsoft Word. Here's how to set some text in Word to be double spaced. Highlight the text you want to double space. Click on Format on the menu bar and then select Paragraph. In the window that appears, look for line spacing and change it to double. Then click OK. Another paragraph setting that you might want to experiment with is indentation, where you can set your text for hanging indent, which is used for bibliographies.
We want to bring you our interview of the day now. Ecobank has maintained it will be focusing more on electronic channels as good strategy. In terms of attracting more deposits, Managing Director Dan Saki disclosed this to Joy Business at the launch of Ecobank MasterPass QR code in Accra. Apologies, we're experiencing some technical glitch. We can't bring you the interview of the day, but that pretty much does it for this show. My name is Daryl Kwao. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Stay with us.